This video is going to address adult education, and it's for the attendees of adult education, interestingly, not the facilitators. And the question will be, that will guide this video, will be, are you attending a training or are you learning? All right, two different things. All right, and I'll explain why and why it's so important. And I believe this is actually one of the biggest opportunities in adult education, period, actually. And it actually is from the attendee standpoint more than the facilitators, as I just shared. First, let's break this down a little bit. And I'm going to use some analogies bring back elementary school, high school, whatever, whatever traditional learning environment you've had in your life as a younger person. All right, one, why are you there? Right? What's your primary purpose for being at this given training or at this given learning environment? Your salon's having an educator come. Why are you there? All right. Are you there because you want to catch up with friends? Are you there because if you travel to it, are you there to see a nice city and then catch up with your friends and have fun and all these various different things? Is that your primary purpose? Or is your primary purpose you're excited about all the speakers and facilitators or the facilitator that you're there to see, and I am prepped to learn? All right. Why do I say this? Whatever your primary purpose is, that's the one that will dictate most of your actions. And consequently, that primary purpose will detract from the secondary purpose. Meaning, if you're there to see a new city and you're there to catch up with friends, done this myself, all of this is no judgment, but if you're doing that, that means you're going to dinner, you're staying out late, you're probably having some cocktails, and you're probably waking up tired. Fantastic. Now, worth noting, all of those various different things are going to inhibit your secondary purpose of actually being there to learn something. None of those things can be taking place and you be optimized to learn. So getting clear on what your primary purpose is very important, so that you show up so that you leave with the correct expectations. Right? One of the biggest things is the expectation. You show up and your primary purpose was to see a city and see friends, and then you leave and you're like, oh my God, I didn't get anything from the training. No, you didn't. That wasn't your primary purpose. At least leave that training and say, you know what? It was fun being there. I caught up with friends. I had some amazing dinners, and the facilitator was really cool. I learned a couple of things. I got a couple of things out of it. Fantastic. Then say that, because that's what you were there for. Yeah. Secondly, are you prepared? There's a difference between being physically present and being mentally present, right? So when I say, are you prepared? When you show up to your educational environment, do you have notes? Do you have pens and papers? What are you going to write this information down on? And this is going to become relevant in a second, actually. I'm going to close with that one, right? What are you going to take notes with? How are you going to write down your thoughts, your ideas, all these various different things? Do you have a book? What do you got, right? Because without that, you're actually not prepared to learn. You're prepared to be present. That's two different things, right? Third, and I think this is one is tricky, and check it out. When you show up, how are you identifying yourself? Let me use this as an example. When I facilitate trainings, there's a wide gradient of people there, right? I'll have assistants, I'll have stylists of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years plus, whatever, right? Got it. So here's the deal. All of the apprentices show up. Pens, papers, extra stuff. They got 2 pairs of glasses. They're ready. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because identifying yourself as an apprentice is identifying yourself as someone who has a lot to learn. That's why you're an apprentice. Right? When you show up as a hairstylist, and interestingly enough, the more experience you have when you show up to these educational events, actually, you show up no pen, no paper, use very little tools. You definitely don't really have anything to take notes on. And why is this relevant? Why? Because you're identifying yourself as a hairstylist, as a successful hairstylist, which you may very well be. Great. And see, but this affects your mentality. You're walking into the arena saying, I'm already a successful hairstylist with a fully booked clientele, making an excellent living, booked out months in advance. What am I learning here? And so I'm already shut off to learning to a certain perspective, right? Right? Because now you need to prove to me that you know something different than I know, rather than me being open to what you have to share. Two totally different things. So if you are a very successful hairstylist or an accomplished hairstylist or whatever the case may be and identify as a hairstylist, I would invite you to, when you enter into a learning environment, pretend you're an apprentice and show up like that. so that you can actually get all you can out of what's shared during that particular educational situation. Another thing that happens with the hairstylist or the person who identifies as already being accomplished something, okay, is that at that point, you get that whole notion of, oh, I already know what they're saying, and then you check in and you're like looking at your phone. I see it all the time during my trainings. I don't bother to call it out because I can't. I have attendees. I don't have hostages. So if that's what you want to do, live your life, right? But I'll tell you this, and this is a mental fact. The second you check into your phone in between the middle of a lesson, it's going to take you 20 minutes to move from your phone back into actually enjoying the lesson. And so you ping pong back and forth. You'll always be bored because you're never in one place long enough to be present so that you can actually enter into that modality so that you're fully present, aware for what's taking place. So that's something to note too. Don't worry about it. Next time you're in a class, sit through the boredom. I'm sure they'll tell you something that you don't know about because everybody knows something you don't, right? So if they literally tell you nothing, that's probably more about your observance rather than it is their sharing, all right? Third, and this is, I'm about to drop pens, mics, everything else. Do you study? And how do you study? Let's bring it back to school again. Traditional school. When we weren't adult learners and we were, child learners, whatever the case may be, right? Here's the deal. We would be in a class, a lesson would be delivered. We'd be in school for actually, from like 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, right? And after all of those different lessons were delivered, then we would take a big pack back home, and then we would read books. We would write reports. We would have a study partner so that we could bounce things off of. There would be tests when we came back, multiple ones too. There'd be quizzes and tests, right? So now I say this again, as adult learners, we tend to lose sight of what it takes to really learn something, as opposed to just seeing something done, if that makes sense, because it's really different. When you attend a learning event or a training or what have you, the fact of the matter is, in those 6 hours, don't get up. Let me not say don't. I would encourage you not to get up after it and say, you know what, I didn't learn a thing. No, you didn't. You were there present and you heard what somebody just said. The learning will take place after you actually study the material that was just spoken. Reflect on that for a second, right? And bring that into your practice. If you truly want to be that student, and if you're truly there for education, and that's your primary purpose, and you're truly there to learn something that can up your game, expand your mind. Forget up your game, just expand your mind. Maybe think about something that you've been doing just in a new, fresh kind of way. If that's your intention of being there, then I would look at the purpose of why you're there. I will look at whether you're prepared to actually be present for this event. And are you mentally present, just physically present? How are you identifying? Are you identifying as something that's already accomplished and I'm already successful at it? Or are you identifying as somebody who still is open to and needs to learn new stuff? And have you studied what was shared with you? And look at it from all of those different perspectives when you look and attend your trainings in the future and any learning opportunity. Because all of those things are going to dictate whether you've gotten true value from that training or that lesson or that learning opportunity, or you walked away and actually forgot everything that happened in it within 2 weeks. Cool? Cool. All right. I hope you find this useful. I hope it expands your mind so that now you'll move into educational environments with your primary purpose. And if it's learning, you're going to walk away with so much. All right. Because when you walk away, the learning process has actually just begun. Right? Cool. Have an amazing rest of your day. I hope you found this useful. And I'll talk to you later.